Yes, indeed. This is Counterpoint on Talk City 91.1, 17 minutes after 5 o'clock as we get into our number 2. And well, I tell you, the topic for this particular segment is a very disturbing one. Let me just quickly run through just some of the details, the graphic details. Or I'm not going to put a picture on it. A picture of it to make Shabazz get vexed with me. A 17-year-old girl was reportedly stabbed in her eye yesterday afternoon following an altercation outside the Diego Martin North Secondary School. And here's what police reported at about 1:30 p.m. An altercation occurred outside the school compound between two groups of students. A mother of one of the children reportedly saw the altercation and got involved in the fracas. During the altercation, the mother stabbed one of the girls in her left eye with a pencil. And I understand that the pencil broke off as well. The girl was then rushed to the Port of Spain General Hospital where she underwent emergency surgery. And according to some of the other anecdotes that have been coming out as well, the mother left the girl who she was defending, her daughter, there, ran, jumped in a maxi and head out, and it was the police who had to catch her somewhere down the road. But you know, you hear about this and you wonder, well, the first thing, you know, the more you hear this story, when I was being told about the story, you know, my eyes just kept getting wider and wider in amazement and utter disbelief that this could actually take place like that. And then to end with a 17-year-old girl being stabbed in her eye with a pencil. I mean, wow. So we decided to call in the experts on this one. We do have on the line with us Mr. Darrell Joseph, psychologist. And thanks very much for joining us this afternoon, sir.
Hi, good afternoon, Justin. Good afternoon, gentlemen. I'm not sure who else is
Shabazz is here and David Fraser.
Mr. Fraser and Mr. Yes. Shabazz.
How are you doing, Brother Joseph?
I am fine, thank you very much.
Glad to be with you.
Glad to be able to share a few words with the population today.
Indeed. Now, I know that, you know, mad events occur on a daily basis, but things like these just kind of really sometimes take the cake. When you heard this, what were your thoughts?
Well, this is really symptomatic of, and I know you would have heard this before, but you know, there is sometimes point in stating the obvious. What happened here is symptomatic of what is going on in society right now. We have to understand we're living in what somebody called revolutionary times. Revolutionary times, by that I mean that several changes have gone on in society. I would say even over the last 10, 15 years, more so than any other period in our history. We've had the women's revolution, where women's equality and so on, where women are now taking to the forefront in terms of business and academics and income and so on. We've had the technology revolution, where social media now has, you know, in many places replaced the ways that people communicate. So there's a lot of turbulence and a lot of change going on in the fabric of society. And whenever you have change, things get a little bit out of sync and uncoordinated and disjointed and jagged until they settle again. This was a very, very, very disturbing event, but it is a reminder once again of the level or lack of level of what I call mental fitness that many members of our population are going around with. And mental fitness I define very, very simply as the ability to withstand the daily stressors, the daily challenges, the daily things that come up and, you know, sort of give us a bit of a run for our money, give us a bit of a fight in terms of remaining calm and remaining and remaining stable. And
that's the point that I want to kind of pick up on here. Yeah. Because, you know, when it comes to issues of crime and murder and, you know, and even in a situation like this, it all comes back to one thing that I find that, you know, we don't do enough of in Trinidad and Tobago, and that is conflict resolution. Teaching people conflict resolution.
We don't. And conflict resolution, as you're quite correctly alluding, is one of those skills that when you have a proper, I really am on this mental fitness thing. When you have when you're properly able to handle different, you know, challenges, resolving conflicts without resorting to physical violence is one of the skills that you'd be very adept at.
But to me, I think, I mean, again, I mean, we talk about, you know, we want to reduce crime, so they put more police out there and different things like that. But, you know, I mean, to me, I think it seems like the root cause of it is that people just don't know how to resolve conflict, or they don't know how to control their anger, and they don't know how to deal with things in a much more civil way. So the easiest thing to do is to pull out a gun. You cross me, I shoot you. You tumble with my daughter, I'll stab you in your eye. Those kinds of things. So tell me something then, in terms of what can be done by the various authorities or whoever. Who needs to step in? and what needs to be done so that we can actually put some more of these programs out there, and it's not these little airy-fairy programs or people for you to think that, but it really is going to really get to the root of our thinking in society to help it to change. But what needs to be done?
But before you answer, let me just give you a slight example.
Sure.
As a little 10-year-old, I and a friend got in a altercation.
Yes.
He was bigger than me and would have beaten me. But his father had a joiner shop just up the street. We were going Nelson Street, boys.
Yes.
Up on Nelson Street.
Yes.
So I ran up the road and he ran behind me. And when we reached to the father's shop, the father asked what happened, and we told him. And the father said to me, you see that? When two people have an argument, one is going to be wrong and one is going to be right. You all are friends, go back and discuss it and work it out. Now, that was a philosophy of the times.
Do you understand the difference between that approach and the approach that is happening more and more today?
Well, that is what bothers me.
There has been a blurring of the lines between what is acceptable child behavior and what is acceptable adult behavior. Now, I am 40 years old. I don't have any problem saying that. And when I was growing up, if I went out with my parents, well, first of all, my parents were there. And if I went out with my parents, you were happy when you got to your destination because you got to go and play with the other children who were there, separate and apart from the adults who would have been having their own conversation and doing their own thing.
In a particular way.
There was a clear line between what was expected of you as a child and what was expected of adults. And if you dare to jump into an adult conversation, everybody would turn on you one time.
Yes.
Because you're out of place.
True.
All right? So there was a respect. There was, as I said, there was a clear line that you understood what was expected of you as a child, as an adult. What has happened right now, what is happening right now is that many adults in our society no longer hold on to that kind of value system that we had before. So you find now adults speaking, and they're talking about often very adult topics, and the little children jumping in, and the teenagers jumping in, and they add in their 2 cents, and the adults responding to them as though they were also adults. What this does is that it creates a confusion in the children's mind, and we realize now, like it's creating confusion in the parents' minds too, as to exactly what is expected of them and what is not expected of them.
Well, before we go to the lines, what I want to say, because I'm agreeing with you, I've seen mothers coming to parties with their daughters, and mother and daughter dancing the same way with the males who come into the party with them. But that's not my point. What I want to tell you is this. You see this incident?
Yes.
I wish that if this lady is found guilty, that she be made to pay a hard price, and that a signal at this time would be sent so that mothers, because I saw that lady studying it now, but it will teach them to think before they do what they do rather than think after.
And Mr. Joseph, I just want to get back to my question quickly before we go to the callers. I want to make it very quick because we want to take some callers. Yes. So what can be done? Who should do it?
Okay, we need a multi-pronged approach. Certainly putting in monitoring in terms of having more police presence and so on. All right,
I want the conflict resolution. That is what I want to know. What programs can be put in terms of conflict resolution?
Conflict resolution, on several different levels. This conflict resolution business is not just about a program like a 7 weeks or 8 weeks and teaching people. I mean, that can be done at a school level, maybe at a district level, and there's several different ways that ingenious ways that we might be able to make something like this mandatory, or at least close to mandatory, for people in order to access certain services and whatnot. But Justin, what we really need is a whole cultural change, you know. Because in countries where people handle conflicts successfully, from an early age, from toddlers, they learn how to stand in line, how to wait their turn, how not to hit, how not to use their loud voice. Those are things that are taught from small. Okay? So if we're talking about something, I mean, we can always discuss stopgap measures that you could try to put in place now to effect change over the next 6 to 12 months. But on a more longer-term basis, what we're really speaking about is a societal change in terms of how we resolve conflict.
Right. Good. And I think that one thing definitely is that anybody who is in charge of small children, whether it be kindergartens, whether it be coaches, whoever is in charge of they should take at least one session at least one session of whatever it is, whether it be football or cricket. They just take one cricket and say, listen, relax. Today we ain't going to know for you. Today we're talking about conflict resolution. I think anybody who has any kind of interaction, any kind of one-on-one interaction with these should spend some time doing that.
Let me just say something else. Certainly, if you're going to be involved with other people, I would say absolutely yes. But when I was saying about ingenious ways to try and get people to take this type of training and so on, I was thinking of one example. In the Port of Spain General Hospital, if a husband wishes to accompany his wife into the delivery room, there's a 7-week program that the husband needs to go through, where you attend childbirth education classes and so on, and you have to be able to prove to the people in charge that you've learned something before you are allowed to go into the room. You understand?
Right.
So in order to get a service, a government, a public service that you are entitled to, you need to go through a certain mandatory training before you get there, okay?
Right.
I'm thinking of how something, that kind of model could be implemented with the general public, so that persons who need to get access to whatever kind of service or, benefit it is, that, there's mandatory things that you need to go through. And in conflict resolution, parenting skills, several other things.
Right, you put those things in place. All right.
Yes,
28 minutes after 5 o'clock. We do want to take some calls. 622-4911. Psychologist Dara Joseph is on the line, and we're talking about, issues surrounding and concerning, especially the stabbing of a girl in the eye with a pencil by a mother. 622-4911. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Counterpoint.
Yes, good afternoon, Justin.
Yes,
and your
ma'am.
panel.
Good afternoon.
That what a lady do is, what they call it in Trinidad slang, washang behavior.
Yeah.
As they call that. That was inappropriate for anybody to do that in their own right mind. For where I sit down here, people who are parents, they need to be taught how to become parents when they become parents and all. They need to take some classes, because it seems that they cannot resolve the conflict in a mannerly way, which would be the dialogue or something like that.
Right.
You see your daughter having a fight with somebody, before you go and party fight, you get involved in the fight to stab somebody else's child in the eye.
That's why we have a psychologist. Madness.
At the end of the day, this child, what if she go blind in the eye? Who paying for that eye now? Eye for eye? So we dig out the parent eye now?
And I sure they fighting over some petty thing,
Yeah.
Some boyfriend, some stupidness they fighting.
622-4911. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Counterpoint.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
The last time I had a discussion like this, where you had a psychologist on, somebody called up and asked the man, what about love? I think Shabazz joined in that sentiment then. I don't know if you recall.
Right.
Yeah.
Every time something like this happens, the first person they call in is a psychologist. The psychologist coming and talking and telling exactly what the textbook say. Some of them never raise a child. What happened to the mothers and the grandmothers out there? You can't call them?
Okay. Well, we hope that they would call in.
Well, just for the record,
Well, I know Mr. Joseph is a parent of a few.
He might be a parent. He might be one. Right?
Right.
But he's a professional psychologist. That is his job. If these things didn't happen, these people would have no work. But call people who know about parenting. This didn't happen. He's 40 years old. 60-year-old people living now who transit parenting down to the generations. Poor people who have noble children.
Okay. Thanks very much for your call.
So your point is a good point, but they might be as easy.
The caller's nerves a little bit. I am, in fact, the parent of 4 children.
Yeah. And he went and get those 4 children just so that he could say that on interviews like these, eh?
Don't sell me out, no, man.
No, that's true. All right, 622-4911, 622-4911. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Counterpoint.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yes. Shabazz and everyone there.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I am 76.
Good.
Right.
And going back a long time, since in the 50s, I moved up to Arima, Maloney. And we used to go to line up with the buses and then to come to And this, is a nose because she had on her uniform, she blonde white. And she had this 5-year child, which is about 5 years. And the child do something. And she hit the child. The child hit her back. And they play hit for hit until she walk out the 2 minutes with the child behind she.
Right.
So this habit.
Yeah.
The blurring of the rules as Mr. Joseph.
You don't know who is the parent now.
Yeah, good. Thanks very much for the story.
Let me just say one thing. You see the caller who called in just now about the elder people, that's an important thing, because we need the teachings of the elders too. to make a difference in our society, and that too is something we need to look at and how we could frame out and shape
Mr. Joseph, I also want to concur with your point in terms of it being so rooted in our culture, and it needs to take a bigger change, because somebody give you a bad drive, and people are so prone to giving that other person a good cuss out. I mean, it's and if something would happen, you see people coming already enraged, that kind of way, and we're so inclined.
It is entrenched.
We're so inclined to be rambunctious, to be aggressive. People say Trinidad are laid back people and that kind of thing or whatnot, but we're so quick to lash out, to hurt.
What I can say though is that it has gotten significantly worse over the last 20 years. I think what would have been acceptable and what would not have been acceptable has certainly gotten dramatically worse over the last 20 years. I think a lot of people are very desensitized to violent acts of aggression and so on, and all of that is contributing. All of that is making it easier for somebody to act out.
Right. Well, if you watch the papers this morning, we seem to glorify those type of things.
Well, unfortunately, there's consequences in every action you do, and in highlighting things that are going on in a society, it may, in a sense, come over as sort of glorifying, these unfortunate things that happen. I don't think that's the intention, but it certainly has that effect.
All right. Well, Mr. Joseph, we have come to the end of our time here, and it's a topic that easily could have gone on for much longer. But I do want to thank you very much for at least the thoughts you would have brought out, and I do hope that people would take positive action in terms of at least, especially the younger children, the teenagers down. Because some of the older ones just almost like they're hardwired now, but from the teenagers down, to at least start making an impression in terms of how you handle conflict.
I do hope, Mr. Joseph, that in this new society that we're talking about, that you will play a major role in it.
I remain open to serve.
All right, good. Thanks very much for your time.
You're very welcome, John. Take care.
Psychologist Darrell Joseph, they're spending some time with us here this afternoon. We're going to take a short break. Ian Wallace is in with our weather, and then we talk cricket in the segment leading up to 6 o'clock.